Namaste, good morning. Let's go live on another bicycle live stream on a very bumpy footpath. Oh boy, I got this footpath good. On Sunday, August the 4th at 7:15 a.m. It's only 11 degrees, 11.8 degrees. Started off at 8. It started off at 8 degrees this morning, and it's shaping up to be a magnificent winter's day. So thought I'd chat about our endless hedonistic destruction in this morning's live stream. And I've given this live stream the longest, oh jeez, what am I doing riding on this footpath? I have given this live stream, I'm getting off this footpath, I can't take this anymore. Oh, wow. Third attempt. I've given this live stream the longest title any live stream in the world has ever had, ever. Again. Never say never, again. So I've titled it Slaves to Our Senses. Can we stop the hedonistic destruction that is killing us and is still ultimately unsatisfying? I think that's pretty close to the description I have for the live stream. So yesterday came a report that July in Europe just finished. The July in Europe just finished was the hottest July on record, or equal hottest to July 2016. So, David, thank you for watching. So this came sadly as no surprise, because we are getting reports daily about the climate crisis that we are now well and truly in, and that is killing us. And the reports we're getting are more and more alarming. The reports we're getting are telling us that the rate of change is actually speeding up, and is not only speeding up, but is also faster than we previously had made allowances for. Good morning, Kylie, thank you for watching. And so we're getting these reports coming back about, conditions in the Arctic, and what's been happening with the huge melting of the ice, the animals that have been dying up there, the different environmental extremes that are being experienced around the world, the change in the weather patterns and the destruction that is happening to our natural world. And I wanted to talk about how we've arrived at this point. And good morning, Kylie. What a corker of a morning. I was trying to think of the right adjective to use then. Really is magnificent to be out here. Very refreshing. Brisk, but refreshing. I think I've ridden, about 30 kilometres now. So let's just sit there, stay there. Thank you. Just making sure the Audi driver knows I'm here. So the question is, what has brought us to this point? And what has brought us to this point is that we have an appetite for destruction. We are slaves to our senses. We have a hedonistic bent that means that at all costs we want to get what we think will make us happy. And the irony of that, there's two parts to that. That's sad and it's ironic. The irony is it doesn't make us happy, and the sad part is that it kills us, and it kills the planet, the environment, and it kills the animals, and it's it just on all levels it's a no-win. And this lack of awareness that we are slaves to our senses has created this endless hedonism where we are just constantly chasing the next hit, the next high. You know, we've become a world of, if it feels good, do it. Well, there is that lack of responsibility in that thinking has brought us to this point where we are selfish beyond measure. We are selfish beyond any acceptable level. Our selfishness knows no bounds. And the proof of that is the destruction of our natural world just so we can have a momentary sense gratification flash. One that does not actually satisfy us. And so, because it doesn't satisfy us, we go off in search of the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And over a period of time, we have become more destructive because we have, in searching in the wrong direction for this sense gratification flash, we have looked for bigger and supposedly better things and faster things, and you know, we've mined the crap out of the world. We're destroying the forest at a rate that is unprecedented and unsustainable. We are releasing poisons into the atmosphere, destroying the atmosphere at an ever-increasing rate, which has brought us to a point where we are at the 6th major extinction event. All because we won't admit. Was that little birdie having a go at me then? All because, I don't blame you, birdie. If I was a birdie, I'd have a go at humans too, I think. All because we are slaves to our senses. And this is the thing, that if we don't admit this, if we don't see this and admit this, in other words, if we don't become aware of this, admit it, and then ask ourselves, how can we change this into something that is holistic, that is working with nature, not against it, that is working with our environment, not against it, that is, I was going to say working with the animals, but is giving the animals their freedom in their own lives, not taking it from them. How can we, yes, thank you, Kylie, the addiction to instant gratification is killing us. And not only that, but it's the type of instant gratification that is the issue here, because it is, ironically, unsatisfying, because we are chasing the wrong type. We're chasing the shadows that are actually not bringing about the right type of satisfaction of those things that we're looking for. So I was actually going to in the world's longest title of this live stream, I was going to mention our addiction, but I've called it slavery. We are slaves to our senses. We are, so generally speaking, a human being is so weak-willed, it is frightening. And the evidence of that weak will is that we cannot, most of us cannot control that tummy rumble when it comes up and says, I've got to have something to eat, and it's got to be this, you know, and all the, you know, the meatheads going, bacon. It's like, it's a Neanderthal existence. It's, you know, my nuts itch and I scratch them sort of existence. Where did I get that one from? It is completely away from any higher thinking, higher living, any purposeful achievement. It is simply my senses pull me in this direction, and because I have absolutely no control, I am going to follow them. Now, when I was young, back in my teenage years, I actually used to, before I became aware of what was going on, I had an admiration for people that had, some of my friends around the same age group in the late teens, they had this like carefree attitude. It's like, oh, we'll just go and do it, you know, let's go and do this, let's go and do that. And at the time I thought, wow, it must be great to be so, you know, just loose, I guess, you know, because I was always thinking about all the consequences and all the, and planning things and being responsible. And at the time I used to think, wow, I'd like to be able to be that spontaneous, that was, and then I realised over time, as I spent more time with these people and got to see how they were really living their lives, that they weren't spontaneous. What I was seeing was a lack of ability to control their senses. And so when they were saying, oh, let's go and do this, it's not like they were presenting a choice of, do you want to do it or not? It's like, I'm being dragged to do it by my senses. I have to go and do it. And the proof of that was, if you challenge them to not do it, they would actually get really angry because it's like, I have to do it. Kylie says, and we humans continue to swap one addiction for another, kidding ourselves that we're yes. Actually, that's another point I was thinking of this morning as I was riding up to the edge of surface, and I was thinking, that's what we do. We do that. I had in my mind to say basically in this live stream that we are all addicts, and unless we see that in ourselves, unless we admit that to ourselves, unless we stand up in front of the AA meeting and say, hi, my name is Harry and I'm addicted to life. Unless we admit that, we will continue on this path, this destructive hedonistic path, which does not work because we're chasing satisfaction that doesn't satisfy us. What I should say, I'll requalify that. The things we're chasing that we think will make us happy don't. And the proof of that is we see so many unhappy people who have to keep chasing after new goals. And I hope it's not too breezy here. Just turned a corner, there's a bit of a breeze. And what we see is this society which has endless opportunities to chase the things that supposedly make us happy, actually just produces a whole heap of angry, frustrated, directionless people. Now, your point, Kylie, about swapping one addiction for another can be used in a positive way. So what I mean is that knowing that we have an addictive tendency, that we always tend to chase things, but we chase the wrong things, then the wise thing to do is to go, okay, what is it that does actually satisfy my deepest need for love? If it's not the endless, hedonistic, meaningless sexual hookups that I've had, if it's not the animals that I'm paying for to be exploited and slaughtered, and then there's 3 seconds of supposedly taste sensation, for my senses. So if satisfying my senses, my taste buds, my genitals, my ears, my eyes, if that's not working in a material sense, then we need to look deeper. So what it is it's trading up one addictive need for trading up the destructive, hedonistic, addictive tendency that we have for a non-destructive, respectful, compassionate lifestyle that allows that to be lived, a lifestyle that allows it to be lived, and in which we do find the deepest satisfaction of our spiritual need for love. Kylie says that is the key, understanding we have an addiction in the first place. Exactly. So, as always, the answer is so simple that we overlook it. The answer to our environmental destruction, to all the terrible things that are happening in the world, is that we are simply trying to find love. And we are looking in all the wrong places, and consequently We are not satisfied, so we continue hell-bent on destroying our planet, looking for something in a material plane that doesn't exist in a material plane. It exists only in a spiritual reality. So that's where the person, when they start on the path of wisdom, has this realization, this awakening, and you know, that aha moment, and they go, aha. So I've tried, you know, endless sexual hookups, and all I got was sexual diseases and sore gonads or something like that. You know, I've tried eating, you know, as much as I can of this, that, and the other, and all I got was prostate cancer and you know, diabetes and cholesterol and all these other issues that comes from eating and consuming animals. So I've tried all these different things, and I thought that they would satisfy me, and it hasn't. And I thought that the more I did it, the more satisfied I'd be, and instead I just became more frustrated and angry and irritable, and I wondered what was going on. That's where the person is starting to have that aha moment, and they're going, well, if this is not the answer here, what I'm looking for is not to be found here. I need to turn within. I need to look within. There's still, of course, the need to fuel the body. There's still, of course, the need or desire maybe for procreation. I'm not sure what adjective I should use there. I'm not a big fan of bringing kids into the world now in any case, but never was actually. But that's a whole different topic. I just don't think it's fair on the kids these days. I really don't. I think the way the planet is going is, it's just, yeah, I didn't really want to go down this route, but I actually do feel sad for the kids that are being brought into the world they're being brought into now, because the struggle is daily getting worse on an environmental level, not to mention on other levels as well. So I do feel sorry for the world that they're coming into, and I hope that there is some I hope there's some silver lining, I guess. So Kylie mentions that is not self-love. That would be in relation to something I said earlier, which, yeah. So turning within is a process that I talk about many, many times, because it's the only thing that matters in the end. Because all we see when we look around in the world is the end results of people looking externally for what can only be satisfied internally. So as you go about your day to day, have a look and you will see so much evidence of the hedonistic destruction in our world. You'll see it on the news when you see all the land clearing, all the pollution going into the rivers and the oceans and into the into the atmosphere. You'll see it when, like for instance, this morning during this morning's ride, I passed some huge hedonistic barbecuing event happening on the beachfront at North Burleigh, and I just rode past and I just thought, are you, I'm going to swear, yeah, are you fucking kidding me? This is 2019 and you guys still aren't getting it. Like, seriously? You know, it really just so depressing. Just a whole heap of people, you know, they're ready to cook and eat a whole heap of animals that is killing the animals, the environment and themselves. So very, very sad. So when you look around today, you will actually see it happening all around, and it's a sad reality of the world that we live in. And you know, the thing that we can do about it, you know, I've been listening to a lot of videos. It's pretty windy here, sorry about that. Listening to a lot of videos about the environmental destruction. Some of them have really good, but they miss the key point that, you know, they're talking about cleansing carbon out of the atmosphere. They're talking about different solutions and missing the key point that the major contributor to environmental ozone depletion and methane contribution and all the other noxious gases, the major contributor is, of course, the animal agriculture industry, and a lot of people are just missing that point. So it's very sad that they're sort of coming up with all these solutions, but missing the one major thing is the wisdom to shift our thinking from selfish, destructive, hedonistic behaviour to working with each other holistically to a higher purpose. So I'll finish up by saying following on from what Kylie said, you can shift, if you want to call it shift your addictions, you can shift them if you know that you're addicted to food, and let's face it, everyone is, then you can shift it away from completely supporting the animal agriculture industry and the huge environmental destruction, the unsustainability of that industry, and the 8 million animals killed per hour, slaughtered per hour. You can shift away from that to supporting industries that will benefit the animals, your health, and the environment. Support those industries, and as I often say, support fully vegan businesses where possible, because that's how the change is going to happen. If we keep supporting businesses that are like half, that have got a few token vegan products, it's like, okay, that's an indication of where they are with their thinking, because they know there's a big market, but it's not an indication of what really needs to happen on an ethical level, business-wise. And it's not an indication of what we need to do on a moral level as a consumer, because we need to support the places that are taking the risk to make the big changes. So thank you for watching, and for those that are into the science of these things, one final point I make is that I have a laugh when people say, and I mentioned this a bit last week, they talk about, there's a bit of debate and all that, show me the science to prove that there's a climate crisis. So you show them the science, and then they go, oh yeah, but that's fake news and blah blah blah. So, and I have a laugh, because it comes back to that justification of our addictions. People will, even when shown the evidence, you will turn it around to something other than what it is, rather than face the fact that you are weak and addicted and a slave to your senses. Think about that. Think about a higher purpose if you want to have a planet left to live on in the future, for there is no planet B. Thank you for watching. Live vegan and save lives. I'll speak to you soon. Ahimsa.